All right, gentlemen, it's been a minute that I've done a video, and we're gonna kind of switch it up a little bit. I was considering going over last week's matchups because we had a ton of crazy wins. Um, just I'm just gonna do it from this point of view. I'm not gonna dive into them. I'm not gonna show who came back and who's not. There's a couple other things I want to talk about going into week 14 and then leading into playoffs. We also have some league news that I want to go over with some of you guys as well. Um, if y'all in the group chat and everybody is, you saw a message that Juan sent to Orlando. Damn, Juan is a savage, and I love it. Um, Came back major. He needed like 30 points to win, and he got like the 30 points to win. So shout out Juan with the major comeback, 153, highest score of the week so far. I'm not gonna go over like the other ones. Also beat the shit out of me. I mean, as expected. Um, this is the closest matchup of the week. Ryan versus Tony, and I think Tony was losing at first, if I'm not mistaken. But he squeaked it out with a 1.1% win. Shout out Tony, that's a major win, dude. Keeping keeping that fourth spot. And I think you actually knocked Ryan down and took over that position. So good job. And then the next closest matchup, this was a great one to watch. I was kind of keeping my eye on it through the whole time, but Robert coming through, 123, just beating him out by 4 points. Travis putting up a good matchup at 119.20, but just not enough. And Robert just kind of squeaked it out. And uh, Roman kind of just had a bad week. I feel bad for Roman, man. He drafted such a great team, and everything just kind of fell apart with him with just injuries. And it's fantasy football. It happens, unfortunately. And then shout out Jonathan taking that win, jumping up to sixth. But this is what I want to talk about because this is going to be very interesting. This is the last week going into the playoffs. There are only two teams that are currently guaranteed a playoff spot, and that's going to be Oso at 11-2 and Robert at 8-5. Okay, so all of these matchups right here, and I want to make sure my screen you can see everything really well. All of these matchups are going. All of this right here is within play. As amazing as it sounds, all of this is in play. I mean, you look at 1550 to the bottom at me. That's what. That's okay. No, let me rephrase that. From the highest scoring to the lowest right now in that league within this range. So the highest scoring right now is actually going to be Ryan at 1586. He just kind of had some bad luck going up against some high scorers. So 1586 to what is that? Travis 1453. So that's a 130 point swing right there. So essentially all of these positions are set within 130 points plus scoring. Okay, so let's go over the matchups just real quick because it's going to be very fascinating to see who jumps up and who drops. And that's kind of what I'm excited to see about. And then there's something I want to show you guys afterwards that made me not feel good. But it is what it is. Okay, so the first big matchup, not big matchup, but the first one, just starting at the top, me against Robert. Robert, if you want to make about $20, set your starters. Going down to I'm probably gonna lose. I need a massive win, and I need a lot of people to lose, and I need to score like 170. It's not gonna happen. Okay, so but these are the matchups. I kind of took a peek of it. There's three of them that mean a lot to everybody in the league. The very first one is going to be right here, Pirate Ship and Tony. You're looking at third and fourth right here, right now. Okay, third and fourth right here. This is going to essentially kind of figure out who's going to get the third spot in the playoffs. Okay, and if I took a look earlier, I didn't realize this was the setup. I'm going to leave it as it is, okay? There's bye weeks. The top two teams get bye weeks, and I didn't realize that. I could have sworn it was 1 through 6 straight up. It was already applied like that. I could have made the adjustments, but I was like, you know what? It's already this late in the league. I'm not going to make any adjustments. Top two teams get buys. Okay. So going back into what we were talking about is that actually kind of matters a little bit, because if I beat Robert and Juan beats Tony with a high scoring game, I mean, oh, that's 130 point. What was that? 80 points? That's a hard swing. I don't know. I think Robert's locked in the second. I think Robert's locked in the second, so I think you're safe, even with the loss. Um, but this is going to matter who's going to get that top seed. And remember, you kind of want that higher seed because that means you play a lower seed going into the playoffs. Okay. The next matchup that kind of really matters, unfortunately, I don't want to phrase it this way, but I think Ryan's going to kind of pull away with this one a little bit. Granted, Ryan is on a losing streak right now. His team's just kind of falling apart a little bit, but his projections are really good. Roman, who knows? Maybe you can upset it, but let's see. These are the two teams matchups that matter a lot, and I'll explain to you why. Jonathan has been playing very good lately. I think he's on a 2-game win streak, and they're high scoring matches. Okay. Also, he's got a very consistent team, but Jonathan, even if you lose and you put up a very high scoring game, you can potentially bump up a little bit. Okay. Right now, Jonathan is locked in at the last spot. So at the current setting, Jonathan would be playing Juan at the current time. Okay. Uh, this is the big one. This is the big one right here. Believe it or not, Orlando and Travis. Orlando's projected to win currently. Projections don't really mean much, but it kind of gives you an idea of how you're supposed to perform. Orlando is still in play for playoffs, as am I, but I need a lot more to go right than Orlando. So these are going to be these two right here, and this one is going to be very fascinating to kind of see how those play out. Now, here's the part where I said that I wanted to show you guys something. This is the imported settings at the current standings for our playoff schedule. All this green is going to be current playoffs. So also is projected 100% to keep first place. Okay, that confirms my breakdown. Robert is currently projected 100% to get second place in playoffs. Now that's not finished in playoffs, it's going into playoffs. Okay, currently that's going to be Juan has a 54% chance to keep third, with Tony coming in at a 45% chance to keep third. So this is a small switch, man. This can happen. Okay, currently with the matchup, and this is fascinating to me, Orlando is actually projected the best chance to sneak into the playoffs. Now remember, Orlando is in 8th, so you're going to tell me that's a 2-position jump currently. Okay, this is where I got upset. It has given me a 0.03% chance to get into the playoffs. Fuck. Oh well, it is what it is. We had fun playing it. Um, it's it's giving Ryan a 66% chance to keep on to the fourth, so you feel pretty confident right there. And then you kind of jump down, going down to Travis. Travis, you have a 0.01% to get up to fourth, so you telling me there's a chance. But it looks like you're probably gonna keep either sixth or fifth, and you're gonna be bouncing back and forth between Jonathan as well with that fifth or sixth spot. But this is very fascinating to see um, Orlando potentially jumping up and sneaking into the sixth spot into the playoffs. So that was very interesting when I ran the settings to see what those were going to be. But I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So it's going to be very fun. This is a very important week for a lot of people to see who's actually going to get in, who's not. Um, Obviously, if I'm out, I want to do individual matchups going into the playoffs. So the one versus whatever seed, two versus whatever seed, and so on and so on. Those are kind of the ones that matter. Those are the guys in the hunt for the money, and it's going to be a good playoffs. I think it's going to be a very good playoffs. We've seen a couple upsets, some crazy scoring happen throughout the league. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the options about potentially changing the league going forward. Everyone kind of knows the setup that we have. We have our 10 original players. They're kind of like the founders of the league since this is the very first round. But there is a little bit of talk, and I kind of want to toss it out to everybody, and it's going to be a majority vote to see make the changements, if any at all. But we're considering, and I've tossed it out to a couple people. This is going to be the official announcement for everybody. Potentially creating a keeper league. Now, essentially, what a keeper league is not a dynasty team. A dynasty team means you get to keep everybody on your roster. That's not going to be the case. A keeper league means you're going to be able to keep a certain amount of players at a certain value in next year's draft. Now, the way that I personally kind of like it is a single keeper. So you get to keep one player from your league. There's talks about, well, is it the person that you drafted or is it the person that you finished that's currently on your team? The argument behind who you drafted, and here's a perfect example. I drafted Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's not on my team. If I said I want to keep Tyreek Hill, that means who has Tyreek Hill, which is actually going to be Orlando, loses him. But Orlando played the game and ended up with Tyreek going into the end of the year. So that's unfair for Orlando. So my personal feelings on that is it's going to be, if it goes to that, it would be a person on your team. So if I'm just taking a look at my team right here, more than likely it's going to be one of these two guys. If we did it, my guess is probably going to be Breece Hall as my keeper, right? So I would keep Breece Hall going into next year's draft, and depending on the situation of the rounds that we all agree on, if we agree on it, that's the spot where I would automatically get Breece Hall. Now, if I just selected someone random like Travis, taking a look, if I had to just take a quick guess, if we did this and Travis had to choose somebody, he would probably select Saquon. If I had to guess, or you know what, let's go Patrick Mahomes. Let's go Patrick Mahomes just for namesake, right? Travis would automatically get Patrick Mahomes, so his quarterback is locked. He doesn't have to worry about it. Now, here is where it kind of changes: is at what value spot do you get it from? Now, there's some people that say you get that person at the slot you drafted them at, if you drafted them. Some people say it has to be a drafted player no matter what. So, for example, if you wanted Puka Nacua to be kept, Puka Nacua was not drafted in our league. He was a free agent pickup like week 1 after he had his great game. So Puka would be out on that. My personal thoughts on it is it's the team that you finished the league with. It's not the people that you drafted because you let some people go. You dropped some people got injured. If you still have that person on your team, you have the option to keep them going into next year at one slot. What round? That's the other one. I personally play in another league where it's a single keeper at round 2. So for my example of keeping Breece Hall, that means I would automatically get selected Breece Hall in round 2. When round 2 comes, that's my pick. Everybody gets filled in round 2, and we jump to the third. We can do round 3. We could do round 4. The later rounds you go down, the more stacked of a team that each squad is going to have going forward. I think 2, 3, or 4 would be a fair value. I think 3 would be kind of nice because it kind of does push a little bit people to have the option to get a stacked team and then still have that really good value in a slot where that person was probably not going to fall to, right? So just for the top example, it would be Roman. Roman has Justin Jefferson, number 1 pick in the league, and he's probably going to go 101 or 102 next year, depending on everybody else's leagues. So if Roman selects JJ for it, he would get JJ in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round. So that means he can still stack his team and have a great value in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round. So I kind of want to toss that out to you guys to see what you guys think about potentially doing a keeper league. There has been some people also tossed out that, hey, I drafted my team this year, not going into the mindset of it being a keeper league. I've made adjustments not going into a keeper league. The keeper league should start next year. So everyone's team is going to be clean, and we start next year going, hey, everyone's going to draft normal as is. Keep in mind, you do have the option to keep one person going into the year after that, but that's just an option as well. The other option is we're considering also doing uh, a double flex. Now, someone tossed out, how about a super flex? If you don't know what a super flex is, it's an extra flex spot right here that you can put a quarterback in. Now, that really shoots up high scoring. I personally don't like that. I kind of like the standard one quarterback, that's your guy. Teams don't run two quarterbacks. I get teams don't generally run two running backs either, but you kind of have to, like, if you only had one running back, that would suck, right? But I kind of do like the setting of one quarterback being the position. So I'm open to doing a double flex. And at that point, someone did suggest that what if we removed kickers? I'm okay with removing a kicker. What if someone suggested removing a defense? I personally prefer like to running defenses. If anything, I would be willing to open this up to a double flex and keep kicker and defense while removing one bench spot. Also, removing the double IR and keeping one IR so people aren't stacking multiple injured players. If you got two people that are injured, let's say JJ, since he was on IR, and who's the quarterback? Joe Mixon. Or let's say JJ and Joe Mixon, right? Let's say you got both of those guys and both of those guys go on IR. You're probably going to want to keep JJ down the long run. You're going to have to be forced to drop the other one because at that point, you're still expending your bench. So we have a couple options, depending on how people kind of want to play it going forward. There's no definitive answers that are going to be happening right now. I just kind of want your guys' feedback on that. So I know this video is kind of getting long. I'm going to kind of cut it right here, but tell me your thoughts going forward. No official judgments are being made at the current time, but these are some things that we kind of want to look at going into next season, since this season is kind of wrapping up. But we only want to do the best for the league, and not only that, but we're not going to make adjustments if everybody disagrees with them. It is going to be a majority rules. So ultimate decision does not come down to me. If somebody likes something about the league that they want to change that I don't agree with, if more people agree with it, then I'm going to be forced to play the hand that everyone wants, trying to make it as fair league as possible. So it is what it is when it comes down to that. Bailey's going to say bye. Say bye. Say bye. Say bye. Okay, see you later. Bye. All right. Happy week 14 and have a good one.